records his NFL record 23rd sack of the year.
Throw it to Leonard, trying to keep it alive, and the Texans have it, trying to run with it for the score.
He didn't get it earlier. Togiai got his touchdown after all.
Togiai! Wow!
Snap there. Carlson swings. Carlson has it!
Johnson, the fake. He'll run. He'll want to throw.
Goodness.
He's going to get a touchdown. The Commanders have taken the lead.
3rd and 4. Steelers bring 4. Highsmith is there. Jackson got away. Now reloads and throws to Flowers downfield. He's got it for a touchdown. It's Gainwell running right, trying to get to the corner. In for the touchdown. 3rd and 1. Fake to Henry Jackson.
Again.
Shot downfield. Say Flowers again. Say Flowers inside the 20. He's going to go. Rodgers protected, throws to Austin for the touchdown! Snap good, hold it, the kick is no good! It is wide right! And the Steelers are the champions of the North!
What a day. What a couple of days, huh? Not many games it felt like had the implications of the playoffs, yet we still had some amazing drama there in the NFL. As the season wraps, the Chiefs are officially done. They will pick 9th in the NFL draft, the second best spot they could have picked at. So I'll take it, certainly. 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, and you got the 9th pick in the draft. We'll talk about how that came to be, what it ultimately means for this Chiefs team as they head into the NFL draft. And we know that the playoffs are set, and it will be a playoffs without Patrick Mahomes, Joe Burrow, and Lamar Jackson. All 3 of them missing. And it will be the first season, it'll be the first playoffs since the 2015 football season that will not include, that will not include Tom Brady or Patrick Mahomes. The first season since then. This will only be the second time since 2015 that the AFC champion will not be represented by Tom Brady or Patrick Mahomes. Wow. The other one being obviously Joe Burrow. That took place. It is a very different season. Is it a sign of things to come? Or is this one of those one-off years that we look back and go, man, that was just a crazy year. And if you played that season 100 times, it may turn out like that 3. But that's what happens. If the Chiefs played the season 100 times, would they be 1-9 in one-score games? Probably not. If they played the 2024 season 100 times, would they be 12-0 in one-score games? Probably not. The odds of that being very slim for it to be that drastic both ways. From undefeated to essentially defeated. And the one-score win, you were down 11.
A 1% outcome of one-score games. Then the following year was a 1%.
That's right.
I mean, if you do the exponential process on this,
you do it. Go ahead, do it right now.
I
want
to sound smart. I don't know what
it.
that means, but if you expand on those,
Jack, can you do the exponential process for us real quick?
Can you do some math?
See, that was my worst subject next to chemistry, so you can't count on me. I'd have to have a cheat code. I have to have someone to copy off of here. But
I need test files.
I'm not smart with that, so I'm just gonna sit in the back here and not say anything.
I don't believe Jack because everybody he's around, they have chemistry. Like everybody that's near Jack, they've got chemistry.
That's science, dude.
Oh, my bad.
He's good at science.
And math, actually.
Yeah,
dude, I was so ass at math as my
1, 2, or 3
figure out
scoops.
of.
We're not a math show.
The theorems.
Speak for yourself. Are you kidding me?
Theorems. Point remains, the 1% outcome coupled by the 1% outcome the following year is that's a 0.0001% outcome.
I was taught calculus. You plus me equals us. Calculus.
I hate this.
That's what I was taught back in the day. All right, 913-912-4810 is the text line. We'll also open up the phone lines. It's the day after a Chiefs game. It's the day after the end of the season. This is a show that is about a month early. we have typically done this show a month from now. The final game of the season, and we have been spending 5 of those shows of the last 6 years after the Super Bowl discussing a win, and a couple of losses, while one of those shows took place after the AFC Championship game in one of the more surprising losses of the Chiefs season. Chiefs, Patrick Mahomes, Andy Reid era together. But here we are. We knew this would be the final game of the season for the Chiefs for the last few weeks. Didn't know what it would look like a few weeks ago. Certainly didn't know that they would get a top 10 pick. When they're playing the Chargers, I didn't expect to be talking about a Chiefs team that would be 6-11. Playing a Chargers team and you're going, the season's still alive. You got a percentage chance that you might be able to make the postseason, but we knew it was essentially over. And Patrick Mahomes' season was then over later on in that game. The Chiefs' season was officially over after that game. But they had 3 games left, and we were wondering what we would see. I thought they would win at least one of them, maybe 2. That this team is going to finish up 8-9 by beating the Titans and the Raiders and draft 15th and have these Pyrrhic victories for no reason. And instead, what we got, and I think you can make an argument that this was the best possible outcome after they were eliminated. After Mahomes was injured. This isn't the best possible outcome with Mahomes' injury, obviously. But once he went down with the knee injury and they were officially eliminated, you would say, what's the best possible outcome? I would say this is one of those. I think the overall high-end best possible outcome would have been you lose the games, but, oh my God, Brashard Smith looks amazing. And Bossa looks awesome. And Noel Williams and Christian Fulton are balling out. And Gelati, and it's like, wow, you've got some real promise moving forward.
Well, the cornerbacks kind of did their thing.
I agree with that. But I'm looking at the totality of all of it included, right? Of all of those players. But one of the other best possible outcomes I think we could have seen, guys, is you spend the next 3 weeks, 2 of them against terrible teams. Now, by the way, you're also a pretty bad team. You're 6-11 for a reason. But you've got 2 games against teams that are drafting ahead of you, and you're the 9th pick. And in one of those games, at least, you really tried. I mean, you tried. You put your veterans out there. You tried to win that game. I think one of the other could be best possible outcomes is that you spent the last 3 weeks losing, and you looked so bad, especially offensively, that there is no choice but to reassess everything if you are truly honest with yourself. And we saw nationally people start to come to a realization and an understanding of what the team looks like when 15 is not on the field. Because this is a team in 3 games without Patrick Mahomes as the starting quarterback. After that Chargers game, you play the Titans, the Broncos, and the Raiders. Without Mahomes, they had 31 drives, 31 possessions. They scored 34 total points. In 31 drives, they scored 1 touchdown. 1 touchdown in 31 drives. And 2 of those games, they were really trying. They wanted to beat the Titans. They wanted to beat the Broncos. And that one drive, that touchdown drive, started at the other team's 35-yard line. It was a 35-yard touchdown drive is the only one that you had without Mahomes in the game. As far as, outcomes go, there is no other way to look at the final 3 games than to realize the roster is lacking. It's less than. It needs an overhaul to a degree. And the offensive scheme needs an updating to it. And I think there is a greater understanding of all of the holes and the warts that Patrick Mahomes has covered up in his time at the quarterback. And as I said when he was being carried off the field up the tunnel I said, that is a symbolic picture to me, because what is happening is Patrick Mahomes' leg gave out, and he is needing to be carried while putting his arms on the shoulders of two other individuals, which to me is symbolic of the last few years where that was the team putting their arms around Mahomes, and he was the one carrying them until his legs gave out, and he couldn't do it anymore. Literally couldn't do it anymore, and his legs gave out.
To me, yeah, I love they had the 9th pick, but that game, 2 scoops of ass,
oh my God,
and maybe a third.
I would have hated to do postgame for that game.
Yeah,
that pregame was no picnic. That was one of the most 2012 Chiefs games I've ever witnessed. That and the Titans game, where
it was a very 2012 Chiefs game. Yeah,
I think why I'm not quite as, I don't say optimistic, because I'm happy the 9th overall draft pick and all this stuff, but the reason why I'm still fairly pessimistic and why I think it is more than just get Patrick healthy. I know the offensive line is not going to be this. The offensive line should be good next year with health included. This should be a good offensive line. There's no issues there. But the entire wide receiving core took steps backwards outside of Tyquan Thornton. Rashard Smith, we'll find out, but they don't clearly trust him to be the guy. The only time he gets more than 5 carries in a game is against the Raiders, both times for some reason. The defense I'm thrilled with. There's so many pieces on the defense, especially at cornerback, that I'm sitting here like they could put Jack, myself, and Darcy out there, and we're finding a way. Dave Merritt's going to make us give up 20 points total. Like that. Like I'm convinced they can do that in the secondary. It's impressive. But I don't
think that would happen with you guys. I'm just saying.
They need defensive line help, clearly, drastically. But they need wide receiver help. If Travis Kelce retires or not, they need tight end help and a large investment there. The backup quarterback spot is dire. I mean, Oladokin made Tyler Palko look good.
Yeah, you watch your mouth, dude.
I'm sorry. Like I'm sorry. Like I was rooting for Oladokin. Great story.
Yeah.
Dude. I mean, sorry. We can call it like it is.
He can't play.
I don't think you need to apologize at all here.
No,
I mean,
he lost his opportunity to be the backup in the first half. There's no getting around that. I think there was an opportunity, guys, going into this game. You say, okay, well, he came in for Minshew in the Titans game. He got 0 reps with the first team. All right, there you go. There's excuse number 1. He played against the Broncos, Jack, after a couple of days of practice and really just a walkthrough. Okay, there's excuse number 2. There are no excuses for this because his job, if you're a backup quarterback for the Chiefs, you can't be the reason you lose the game. You don't have to go and win it, but you can't run around and have the ball, just a lack of security with that and be flippant with the football and cavalier with it, and you give it up twice. You can't be the reason why this team turns the ball over a couple of times. It can't happen. So in that first half, and then they bring in Bichelle, and I know Andy said, well, that was part of the plan, as we told both guys to be ready. If Oladokin was cooking, as they would say, if he was playing well, I don't think we see Shane Bichelle because I think they wanted to win the game to a degree. We'll talk about whether they really, really wanted to win the game or not.
The timeout maybe alludes to the
amazing time management by Andy Reid, and people question this guy's time management in the past. This guy is a brilliant time management specialist. But Oladokin can't be the backup quarterback next year. There isn't even a discussion anymore. He lost that in the first half, and they pulled him for a reason.
There is 0 reason any of those guys, and really I'd say all 3 that took snaps after Patrick Mahomes should be the answer if Mahomes is going to be missing the first couple games of the season. You have to find somebody that can elevate the offensive scheme a little bit. And look, we can be realistic about this. Chris Oladokin was on the practice squad the entirety of the season. Yeah. He's 28 years old. He had never taken an NFL snap before. It wasn't going to look pretty. At the same time, I don't know if you have to apologize for criticizing the guy. This is the NFL after all, right? This is the big leagues. This is big boy football, and you can have a great story. You can be a great guy. It doesn't mean, though, that you should be in serious consideration for being the backup quarterback. And I would like to have somebody that is more than serviceable when you have a quarterback coming off of a significant knee injury and might miss the first couple games of the season. The guy they need to have at number 2 is not somebody who has less than 10 starts at the NFL level. I mean, you got to go find somebody that you could give a start to, and you're on the road in, let's say, Cincinnati next year, and it's, yeah, the Chiefs should be favored here. You shouldn't be asking the backup quarterback to go and win you the football game. But what I saw in the last 3 weeks from backup quarterback play, I can fully acknowledge the offensive line, having Chu Godric and Esapole starting at left tackle and right tackle. I can understand not having a running game. I can understand not having Rice and Worthy and not really having much production anywhere else offensively. But that was your audition. That was your chance to showcase, hey, put me in the running. Put me in this job interview, if you will, and I get the first crack at it. And I didn't see enough. And the Chiefs should look at that and say, none of those guys that took snaps for us, regardless of who was out there, can be the answer for us next year, whether Patrick Mahomes is starting week 1 or he's not starting till week 3 or 4.
But wasn't Gardner Minshew supposed to be that guy? That's the pushback I'll give. Gardner was supposed to be that guy of he's been a starter. He was a starter, last year. He's been on multiple teams, moved around. Clearly that means he can pick up a system or a scheme quick. I thought Gardner was supposed to be that guy. I do wonder if
he had 2 possessions.
If he didn't get injured.
Except for the Raiders game where they just handed off.
Yeah, it's like
So, yeah.
I still think Gardner could, and the injury wasn't quite as serious as, feared originally, is what it sounded like. I wouldn't just immediately throw Gardner out of the running, but I get your point. Someone who has been a starter, not the unknown, not a practice squad guy. And again, we talk about all the time, and maybe unfairly, I've brought this up too, but like Malik Willis or Davis Mills, yeah, they might not be starters, but they were also like third-round draft picks, second-round draft picks. There's that pedigree that goes into it, and you're seeing what Davis Mills is doing with Houston. You're seeing what Malik Willis has done with Green Bay.
Look what Mitchell Trubisky honestly did with
Phillip Rivers
Buffalo.
did with Indianapolis. I mean, coming off the couch, he looked way better than anybody.
Trubisky had a 142 quarterback rating. He had 7 incomplete passes and 4 touchdowns in the against the Jets. But there's a guy who might win the MVP because he had 2 amazing games against the Jets. Regardless.
So I do think that
Neither here nor there.
Gardner was supposed to be that guy. It wasn't that guy, but the Chiefs, you're right. They need to look, and again, this is kind of my overarching thought, there are more holes than I originally expected. The last 3 weeks opened my eyes to, it's not just D-line. It's backup quarterback, defensive line, interior and outside. It is wide receiver. It is tight end. It is running back. I mean, it's not just 1 or 2 spots.
And many special team spots.
It's nice to see Harrison Butker right the ship after a brutal.
Cool.
I know. No, I'm not. He had a horrendous start to the year.
Yeah.
He finished on a relatively solid note. That gives me, because you're not cutting him. The money's not. There's no way to move on. So
what did he finish? 8 for 8, I think it was, after the missed field goal against the Titans.
So at least there's that small amount of, okay, maybe he can right the ship heading into next year.
Yeah.
But there are some holes on this team, man, that more than I expected after watching the last 3 games.
Let's take a break. We'll come back. We're hanging out with Jack Johnson until 11:30 because Field Yates joins us then. Sterling Holmes, Michael Darcy, Jason Anderson with you. It is a Monday edition of The Zone. We do have some open phone lines that are there if you want to weigh in. It's kind of been 3 weeks in running, so may not be any fresh thoughts in terms of what you want to get into. But the season is over. We know the draft position that they have. We saw some things in this game. Matt Nagy and Steve Spagnuolo, the Titans, have put in a request to interview both of those guys. Job openings around the NFL, firings going on in the NFL. Stefanski has been let go by the Cleveland Browns, and so some other things that we will get into as well. Matt Quattrero having a press conference Zoom. We'll hear from that coming up in the noon hour, signing a 3-year extension. College basketball happened over the weekend. Mizzou with a massive, shocking, quite frankly, win over Florida, which could springboard them into the SEC play. A.J. DeBenza is just too much for K-State to handle.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, the Darren Peterson saga continues. And it's just, man, is it better to have loved and lost than to never loved at all? Because so many games where he doesn't play at all, and you're like, oh, maybe he could have. Well, let's see when he plays. But then he goes and plays and then leaves early again. It's like, man, would it have just been better to play UCF without him and just say, oh, when he's back, he's back? Number of things to get into. We'll take a break, come back. More Zone next.
The wild card round is here, and FanDuel is turning on playoff mode. All customers get a profit boost pack every NFL game day. Each game day during the wild card round, you'll get a pack loaded with multiple profit boosts waiting for you right there in the app. I was sweating last night. Yeah, it was a little hot in the house, but I was sweating because I had the Steelers money line right there on FanDuel. I thought, okay, it's great. Oh, no, it's bad. Oh, yay, it's great. Oh, no, this sucks. And then they had the 44-yard field goal, and I thought, well, I lost this one. But no, I think Loop knew that I had money on the Steelers on FanDuel, and he missed that for me. Thank you, Mr. Loop. I appreciate you. And I had so much fun, even more excitement, because I was doing it all right there on FanDuel. So, pick the matchups you believe in. Take your shot on an upset or build a parlay that fits the moment. Then apply your profit boost and go after even bigger payouts while the playoffs get rolling. So, visit FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL, and grab your profit boost pack every NFL playoff game day.
21 plus and present in Kansas. Opt-in required. Bonus issued as non-withdrawable profit boost tokens. Restrictions apply, including any token expiration and max wager amount. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. FanDuel is offering online sports wagering in Kansas under an agreement with Kansas Star Casino, LLC. Gambling problem? Getting help is your best bet. Call 1-800-522-4700 or visit ksgamblinghelp.com.
All right, news around the NFL. Pete Carroll has been fired by the Raiders. You win, you gots to go.
Are you surprised?
No.
It's no. That the wording is fired. I 1,000% thought it was going to be a parting of ways. I know it doesn't mean anything later on. Like, we'll all understand that it is him being fired.
Yeah.
But a guy like that who's 74, we all assumed he was moving on from the Raiders. I mean, I don't think he wants to coach the Raiders anymore. So I thought
because he doesn't want to go through
a rebuild.
A rebuild. He was there to win.
Yeah,
to
so
win.
I'm really surprised, and maybe I shouldn't be, and maybe no one cares, but I think it is a little disrespectful to maybe say fired instead of parting of ways or agreed to move on in different paths. Maybe it doesn't matter. Maybe no one cares. But I think a Hall of Fame-esque coach like Pete Carroll deserved that.
Yeah. And it may have been that Pete Carroll just said, I don't want to leave. I want to spend the offseason. I think we can build on this.
Well, that's different. Then that would be different.
And they said, no, dude, you've got to go. And it might have been we're going through a rebuild. And he might have said, no, we aren't. I mean, a differing philosophy from that standpoint of,
sure.
You know the team that played the fewest snaps for rookies this year?
Oh, man. Well, is it seriously the Raiders?
It's the Raiders.
Well, because they had Ashton Genty. They had Charles Grant, who I don't think played much until the very, very end.
Right.
I'm trying to think defensively.
Pete Carroll was
Jack Besh, the wide receiver.
Yeah, Besh.
Pete Carroll
he
was not going young. He was not running a youth movement. The Raiders were one of the older teams in the NFL this year, shockingly.
The anti-Bill Belichick. Yeah. He's not having a youth movement.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Yeah. And so there might be the differing philosophy of Pete Carroll saying, look, we get Mendoza with the number 1 pick, and we're ready to go and win right now. And the Raiders front office might be looking at it and going, dude, we might be trading Max. We are going to load up, and we're going to get a ton of different players, and we're going to take the next year or two figuring this whole thing out, and maybe we can turn it around right now. But you have to be on board with that. This is not an immediate, we are going to win next year. So it could have been something along those lines with Pete Carroll let go, but there is another job opening in the NFL. And I'd rather the Raiders not get it right. You know, I thought they got it right to a degree this last year with Pete Carroll. I thought
I
the
did
Pete
too.
Carroll,
I was shocked.
Yeah, I thought the Pete Carroll hiring was, what was the
adult in the room?
Yeah, we did the comparison of the Chiefs trading for Alex Smith.
Yes.
That they went from quarterbacks that were like, you can't find the right guy. You're just going through all of it. You needed stability at that position, and Alex Smith presented stability at that position. But was he going to get you a Super Bowl? We know ultimately no, until you find the right guy. Didn't think this would just be a one-year deal for Pete Carroll. So the Raiders are open. The Browns are open. The Titans are open. The Giants are open. God, who am I missing?
Are you surprised?
Titans, Raiders, Browns, Giants.
Giants are keeping Schoen on Falcons.
Falcons, yeah,
Falcons,
yeah, with both coach and GM have made that move. So, and again, the news as it relates to the Kansas City Chiefs, the Tennessee Titans have officially requested permission to interview Matt Nagy and Steve Spagnuolo.
This feels like one. You look back, Eric Bieniemy would have gotten a job probably. This was 5 years ago. If Matt Nagy might get a second opportunity this year,
maybe.
I mean, I don't think anyone thought Nagy. I mean, do we have to be worried in Kansas City about Spags?
Yeah, I think so. I think Spags is.
There's so many openings right now.
The Giants may hire Spags. I mean, bring him back as your former DC, and now, a guy who failed the first go around as a head coach, but maybe gets another chance, his last maybe chance to do that. We'll see. So, yeah, I think there's a chance, and if that happens, I think you elevate Dave Merritt to your defensive coordinator, because I think Dave Merritt may get opportunities.
I would agree with that, by the way.
As a DC this offseason. So, the last thing you want to do is lose both Spags and Dave Merritt.
Oh, man.
You'd love to lose neither of them. But yeah, if Spags gets a job, I think Dave Merritt then gets promoted to defensive coordinator. Let's talk about some of the takeaways from this particular game. We mentioned Oladokin, and that's sort of like yeah, there it is. You kind of knew you were in that boat anyway, because Matt Derrick brought up a great point on Friday. and said if there was a year for you to continue having the veteran backups, like you got to, my view is you have to change that strategy eventually. Like you brought in veteran guys with Mahomes early on because he was a young guy. Now he's the older guy who's teaching Gardner Minshew, right? Gardner Minshew was talking about learning from Patrick Mahomes. And so it's like eventually you got to get out of the revolving door $3 million backup quarterback. But Matt Derrick's point was, and I think it's a good one, this is not the year to do it with Mahomes, who won't be there as your number one through the offseason, through mini camps and probably training camp, and you probably need a veteran to be the one that's running some of those practices with Mahomes off on the side, working out and going through, as opposed to it's Oladokin or Shane Buechele. So that point, yes, that point is a good one. So yes, the backup quarterback, we acknowledge that too. I think there's a frustration with the usage of Brashard Smith. And not that Brashard Smith is Jonathan Taylor, but in that one game alone, while we acknowledge the opponent, the Raiders aren't all that great. But for the first time all year, there looked like there was some juice in the backfield when you handed the guy the ball, that there was a quickness and a burst that has been lacking from this team for the last couple of years for a running back. We even saw Dameon Pierce in the game, get a few carries, which I was happy to see. But Brashard Smith averaged almost 5 yards per carry. And what stood out to me is not the average yards per carry. What stood out to me is he had 4 rushes that were 8, 9, 10, and 14 yards. His long of 14 yards, there have been 4 carries this year for a Chiefs running back of at least 14 yards. And Brashard Smith just got 1 of them. There were 3 before yesterday, all season long, of a carry by a Chiefs running back of at least 14 yards. Isaiah Pacheco all year long had 15 total carries of 8 or more yards. Brashard Smith had 4 in the game alone. Isaiah Pacheco's longest run of the season was 16. Brashard Smith had one at 14. Pacheco's second longest run was 13. They both have the same amount of carries with 14 or more yards. And yes, 14 is an obvious, clear, random cutoff because that's what Brashard Smith high was and long was yesterday. I offer that up front. But you've got Brashard Smith 14, Isaiah Pacheco 16, Kareem Hunt 18, Kareem Hunt 33. Those are the 4 longest rushes of the season for the Kansas City Chiefs this year. That's what's been missing is that, okay, he had 4 carries that resulted in 10, 20, 30, 40, 40. 4 carries for 40 or 4 carries for a total of 41 yards.
Yeah.
Now he had 8 carries for 15 yards. Okay, so you've got some hot and cold there.
Sure.
But what's better? Well, Kareem Hunt, he gained 3 yards on that play, and Brashard Smith got no yards. Okay. But the next drive, Brashard Smith started out with a 9-yard run on first down. So it's 2nd and 1 instead of 2nd and 7. And the previous drive, it was 2nd and 9 instead of 2nd and 7. So what's a better result in those 2 drives?
And this is a situation where in the NFL, you don't have to have the tortoise or the hare. You can have the tortoise and the hare.
Yeah.
And so you can have both and rotate those guys out. Brashard Smith, I think, was a mixed bag.
Yeah, for sure.
If we're being fair. I think we saw a lot of positives. I actually think he looked better in the run game than I expected. The drops were not. I know they weren't the best passes, especially one of them.
I think
but
he's
one
gotta
of
catch
them,
both of them.
I think he has to catch both of them. Like you were a receiver. This is if you're going to be that third down guy, this is what you need. And again, I think we saw some of the vision concerns maybe that were valid, but overall, I think the vision is still better than Pacheco's. Clearly, I think that we saw the explosion. I think to me, what stood out was he looked stronger than I expected. He looked, especially with his legs, a little stronger than I expected. I don't know if I just thought of him more as a slider build guy or
looked like he was finishing, moving forward, and trying to drive the pile for a yard or 2 more. I mean, I liked what I saw. I didn't like what I saw for it to be you found your running back.
No, but can he be a?
But you don't need to re-sign Pacheco.
That's what it comes down to.
I just thought it was, for lack of a better word here, laughable the way that they assembled the running back room in the offseason. I mean, what you saw last year, I understood why with the receiver room you didn't add anything more than Tyquan Thornton to the active roster. You bring back Juju. You take Jalen Royals in the 4th round. I understood why they did that because Worthy ended the year last year, surging to be a really good weapon for this offense. You knew Rice was coming back after the 6 games. The running back room, there was nothing last year that indicated they were fine with that group. And it seemed to me they had so much confidence in Pacheco bouncing back from the injury, because I can understand, he broke his leg in the 2nd game of the season last year and then never really regained that form once he came back. But there was not a true bell cow guy. And I know Andy Reid likes to have a plethora of running backs, and it's more of a hot hand thing. But I was baffled that we got to, March and April and May and June, and it was, they still have Pacheco. Okay, they're bringing back Kareem Hunt. Okay, then we get to the draft in April, and it was, 1st round, 2nd round, 3rd round, 4th round, 5th. They still haven't taken a running back. And then they do take Brashard Smith, which everybody loved because it was, this wide receiver turned running back. That's perfect for the Chiefs offense. But I kind of went, man, you got a guy that has 1 year of experience as a running back coming in to be maybe your number 2, number 3 guy. I was really shocked that that's the way the front office wanted to go about things. And, maybe it's a good thing it bit them in the ass a little bit. I mean, they decided to sit on their hands and not bring in somebody at the deadline. It didn't need to be Breece Hall, but somebody that might be available to be different than Pacheco or Hunt. They didn't. They banked on one of those guys, maybe having a better second half. They didn't. And now you enter this offseason where I'm not bringing back Pacheco. I'm not bringing back Hunt. And I'm all right.
Whoa.
I might bring back Hunt.
I might bring back Hunt.
I'm fine with it being a new running back, like, let's say, Breece Hall as a placeholder. Breece Hall, Brashard Smith, and Kareem Hunt. I just think Kareem Hunt has such a good role on this team in the short yardage situation. But go ahead, Jack, your reasons.
I would just say, Kareem Hunt is fine for the role that he's in, and I know that he's a great short yardage back, and maybe you are okay with that. To me, if it comes down to the money, if it's a... what would it be? What did he make last year? What was his contract?
League minimum.
League minimum. Okay, so if it's league
one.
minimum again, then probably, bring him back, and then you could go add 2 running backs and see what you want to do with Brashard Smith. If you want to make him a gadget guy, a hybrid, I'm fine with that. I really am. I'm not gung-ho on he needs to be your next Isaiah Pacheco. He needs to be your next Darrell Williams, Damian Williams. I'd rather them go and find a guy right now that can be week 1, the one who gets 15 carries. I'm just done doing this. This guy might get 8 carries. This guy might get 6. Oh, they're averaging 3 yards a carry. To me, when you have back-to-back years like this, you have to look yourself in the mirror, understand what you have, and really try to elevate it. The fact they didn't have one rush over 20 yards with the offensive line they
had one 33 yards.
33, yeah. 33 for Hunt.
They literally had one.
Yeah.
The second longest was 18.
So one rush over 20 yards. That is staggering to me. And the fact it came from the guy who is your short yardage back.
Right.
So maybe I have changed my tune just from what you guys